People's Realtor here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about some neighborhoods, maybe fly under the radar a little bit, maybe you haven't heard of. That's right, I'm talking about the top 5 most underrated neighborhoods in Hamilton as curated by the People's Realtor, so you know it's good, all right? So we're gonna jump right into it. If we take a look at our map here, we got Hamilton in all its glory, this whole area right here, and then we see this little square down here, and that is Stinson. That's right. First neighborhood we're going to be talking about is Stinson. And one of the reasons I love Stinson is, as you can see, and as we've talked about before, this green line that kind of cuts through Hamilton, that's called the escarpment, okay? And it's an escarpment. We call it the mountain. It kind of splits Hamilton from upper Hamilton to lower Hamilton, but all these kind of neighborhoods that are right under the escarpment I think are very beautiful. They're well-maintained, beautiful foliage, mature trees, mature neighborhoods with century homes. And you can find a lot of them that have been maintained very well. It's one of the reasons I love it. Another reason is just its proximity to kind of anywhere you would need to go within Hamilton. You know, you're right by downtown and you know, sort of the fun stuff down there and all that good stuff. You got ease of access with public transport. You won't be waiting long for a bus to get where you need to go. Also, you know, it sits right under this mountain access. So if you do need to go up the mountain, which, you know, a lot of people do, you just shoot up right there at that mountain access and you're right on the middle of the mountain, which is kind of this area right here. So I love Stinson. I think it's super underrated. You don't hear many people talk about it, but you know, if you are moving to the area, it's definitely worth a look, especially if you like those neighborhoods with a lot of character. You know, you don't mind an older home because they are pretty much all older homes, but super nice. If you find a well-maintained one, it's just absolutely beautiful. You got beautiful views of the escarpments, and all around, it's just kind of got everything you would want in a neighborhood. And if we jump over here, let's take a look at a couple listings here. So 102 Grant Avenue in Stinson, $834,000 currently on the market. So these are typically, you know, what you're going to find in Stinson, these old 2-story century homes. And of course, the People's Realtor always recommends, if you're looking at a house and you're thinking about buying a house, get an inspection, especially if it's a home that's as old as this. You never know what's behind those walls, right? You're definitely going to want to check on the wiring, make sure there's no knob and tube, because knob and tube around this time, they put it in a lot of homes. So yeah, a lot of things you're going to want to make sure. But if you do find one that's nice and well maintained inside, then it can be a beautiful, beautiful home. All right, so that one did not knock my socks off. I think they might be a little high there for sure. So a lot of these houses, you know, 100 plus years old, and if they are maintained, you know, nice and everything looks good, then you can have a really, really beautiful home with, you know, modern style, but with those vintage touches. This one's pretty updated, but you know, it's got some cool stuff. It had the stained glass at the front, and yeah, that's a nice one. So $669. We're going down in price here. Let's see what $669 can get you in Stinson. Not bad. Another thing to note, you probably can't tell in the pictures, but the ceilings are generally pretty tall in these houses, which I personally love. I love a good tall ceiling. So yeah, the hardwood looks like they kept the original hardwood. A lot of them have those really cool old hardwood, you know, designs that you don't see anymore. So yeah, again, if it's well maintained, then it's really, really cool. $639 in Stinson. Yeah, so nothing special, but beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood. Now, before we move on to our next neighborhood, I just wanted to take a quick look at something that's really cool in this neighborhood. I really like it. It's called the Stinson School Loft. This was like a 100-year-old schoolhouse, 100 plus years old, and it's been completely converted into condos. And I gotta say, they're pretty cool condos inside. They're all different. Each one's different. And it's kind of, you know, sits nicely under the escarpment here. And it really does, when you're walking through the halls, it does got that schoolhouse vibe, but then you go in the units and they're just really, really beautiful units, some of them. And yeah, as you can see. So yeah, the Stinson School Lofts, super cool, super unique. Every unit is different. I really like it. Those condo fees will eat you up though. They are quite high. So something to think about. Another little fun fact. So it's the Stinson School Lofts. It was the Stinson Schoolhouse, right? In the Stinson neighborhood. And then the developer came in and they did this project changing into the Stinson School Lofts. And the developer's name is actually Harry Stinson. No relation to the street or the neighborhood or the schoolhouse. Just a weird coincidence. Harry Stinson built the Stinson neighborhood. All right, moving on. That's enough of that. Next up, I want to talk about perhaps my favorite. That's right, Rosedale. Gotta be one of the best, in my opinion. Definitely underrated, a lot more so, 5 years ago. But when that big boom happened, you saw a lot of movement, a lot of activity here. And I think it is one of the best. I'm going to tell you why. Here we got Hamilton in all its glory. Down here, this area is the lower mountain. Up here is the mountain. And it kind of splits the city in two, but Rosedale is unique in that it's kind of surrounded in this pocket of the escarpment. So you get these beautiful views of the escarpment. And another thing I love about it is, since it is off the beaten path, for lack of a better word, you don't get a ton of through traffic here. So if you do got a young family and you want a nice, quiet, safe place to raise your kids, I'd look no further than Rosedale, because like I said, look, this is Lawrence Road. It kind of attaches Rosedale to Hamilton. Lawrence itself is a pretty quiet road because everyone kind of travels down King Street. King Street is the main street. So Rosedale, you don't get that crazy through traffic from King Street, but you're also right there to King Street. And speaking of, location-wise, you got the Red Hill Valley Parkway right here. Now, this little highway is built around 2005, but it connects the lower mountain to the upper mountain, to the QEW which is our highway that takes you to Toronto, and it also connects you to the Lincoln Alexander Parkway, which is kind of our highway that cuts through the mountain, which takes you to the 403. So as you can see, what I'm saying is Rosedale is perfect because it's quiet and it's tucked away, but it's also got that access to, get out of the city, to get anywhere you want in the city, to get up the mountain. And it's really, really, really great for that reason. Another reason, like I was saying, you got beautiful views of the escarpment. You're surrounded by it. And this pocket down here, if you're a golfer, you're going to like this because you got Kings Forest Golf Club. Now, Kings Forest is a great course, in my opinion. I suck at golf, but I did have a membership there during, 3, 4, 5 years ago, something like that. And it's beautiful, it's quiet, surrounded by the escarpment. And if you're not a golfer, but you love nature, they got you covered down here. You got the Red Hill Valley Trail, you got tons of Kings Forest Trail, tons of stuff to see. You got Mohawk Sports Park just up the mountain if you like hockey or whatever. Rosedale Arena right there. I believe they got curling too, but I'd have to double check on that. But so Rosedale, do not sleep on Rosedale. Let's take a quick look at a couple closed listings this time, see what was selling in Rosedale. All right, so this is typical of what you're going to see in Rosedale. If we go back to the map here for a quick second, Stinson's down here to the west, and then you travel down and you got Rosedale. A lot of these neighborhoods, which are close to downtown, they were developed 100 years ago, tons of older houses, but Rosedale was definitely developed more in the 50s, 60s, stuff like that. So you're going to see a lot of bungalow style houses. And if they're well maintained, you get a nice, beautiful lot, big lot, which is great. And whereas in a lot of the other East End neighborhoods, which are just kind of north of Rosedale, they got these post-stamp lots, right? Really kind of smaller lots, smaller homes, older homes. But yeah, like I was saying, Rosedale was kind of developed later. So you got these kind of nice bungalows with big yards, quiet streets, and the community is great. People who move to Rosedale tend to stay for decades and, raise their kids. So a lot of the neighbors have been there for a long time. They have a strong community sense and all that great stuff. So Here's another style house. This is more of like an East End style house that you'll find. Here's the last one. I'd say you find that more commonly in like Stoney Creek, but this is a little more common around here. These kind of 2 1.5 story houses. They got a lot of them here. And I'd say it's probably a pretty balanced mix of these types of houses. It's not completely one style you're going to find like some of the neighborhoods. There's definitely a variety of different homes, different sizes and stuff like that. So yeah, there's another 1.5 story. Yellow, hello. A little bit older, but this one sold for $659, right? And during the boom, we saw these houses start going crazy, right? Because Rosedale traditionally, wasn't a crazy expensive place to live. There was a lot of good value. I still believe there is now, especially now after the boom. But when the boom went off, oh boy, did these prices skyrocket. $900,000 bungalows, stuff like that. But I love Rosedale. And I think it's perfect for families who, want a quiet place to raise their kid. It's just the perfect neighborhood. My first exposure to it really was when a friend of mine bought a house there years ago, and I thought it was great. We got golf memberships. We could go to his house after, hang out. Shout out Zach Clan. So that's Rosedale. I love it. I think you're going to love it too. If you are, a family looking to raise your kids, beautiful place with beautiful parks, golf course, stuff like that, I got you. You just give me a call, give me a ring, give me an email, give me a text. Joey D'Ambrosio, the People's Realtor. I'm here to help you. You just got to tell me a few things you want because Hamilton is so diverse. We got so much to offer the people out there, not just steel factories. And give me a call if you want to chat more about it. Now, next up, I want to keep it in the East End. We're going to talk about a neighborhood that's just, a little bit north, a little bit west of Rosedale, and that is Crown Point East and Crown Point West. These are neighborhoods that have seen a revitalization, seen a bit of a resurgence, okay? It's these, classic East End neighborhoods. You're going to find a lot of those houses we were talking about, smaller 1.5 story post stamp lots, but you can find great value here, especially if you're looking for like your first home, your first time buyer kind of thing. I think you can find some good value, especially these days, in Crown Point East or Crown Point West. These areas were definitely fell behind a little bit, but during the boom, during the last 10 years, Hamilton kind of saw like this little bit of a renaissance period. And I think this area with Ottawa Street cutting right through it kind of benefited one of the most out of it. And it seems like, it's sticking around. It's got a lot of cool shops, a lot of good restaurants. So I think it's a great neighborhood if like I said, you are a first-time home buyer, or you want to buy on a budget, or you're just starting out, or whatever it is. Crown Point's great. It's got public transit's great around this area. It'll take you anywhere you want to be in Hamilton. You're not too far from the QEW here or the Red Hill Valley Expressway. So Crown Point East, definitely keep it on your list if you are a first-time home buyer or something like that. I think it's a great area to live. So let's take a look at a couple of sold listings here in Crown Point. Like I said, you're going to find a way better value than a lot of places in Hamilton, as well as being, a good place to live for the most part. There's some areas, you can get a lot cheaper houses, but maybe the area is not where you want to be. Maybe you don't want to be around smokestacks and all the craziness above Barton Street and stuff like that in this area. Not to say that anything wrong with it. So yes, this is a very common style house you're going to find in Crown Point, in the East End in general. What do we got here? We got a nice 1.5 story house. This is really nice, actually. Obviously you got to get in there. Don't get your hopes up before you see a house. I've seen it countless times. Someone, oh, I can't wait to see this place. It looks amazing. Well, I want to put an offer in right now. No. You got to get in there to see it. These real estate photographers can work magic. You got to get in there. You got to take a look. There's been so many times someone's so excited. Then you get in the house and you're like, I see why it's been on the market for 2 months. That being said, this does look really nice. But yeah, pot lights. Gotta love your pot lights. I'm sure they're on a dimmer. Nice appliances, gas stove. But yeah, that looks really nice. And sold price $615,000. That's generally a pretty good. I mean, you might be sitting there saying home should be $100,000, but People's Realtors agrees with you. My heart goes out to you. But this is the world we live in, and I think that's a pretty decent price. Now, who's to say that's not going to keep going down more? Who knows, right, in this crazy market we've been living in. But yes, let's take a look at another one. Now I'm just rambling here. You're another 2-story detached. Let's see what it's looking like it was running as a business as well. Alrighty, so this house has what I would call the white girl gray style. That's when millennials get in here and they just paint everything gray. Not my thing, but a lot of people like it, and who's to say that they're wrong? Not me, certainly. But okay, sold for $612,000. Decent. Let's take a look at another one. This is interesting. Yeah, so this is kind of more of a century style home, which, you know, you can find in these neighborhoods as well. And here's another one. And another thing about these lots are quite tiny. Post stamp lots, I believe they're called. But yeah, see, I'm just saying, compared to a lot of the surrounding areas, you can find great value in Crown Point. You can keep $490,000. That's pretty good. You can find great value here, great starter homes, pretty cool neighborhoods. Auto Street's great, a lot of good food, shops, stuff like that. So do not sleep on Crown Point. Yeah, so typical street in the Crown Point area, a lot of older homes, 2-story, 1.5-story, go to school right here, nice park. So yeah, you're typically gonna find that. Maybe we should take a quick look before we move on. So this is Ottawa Street. It's kind of the main street that cuts through. Got some good food here. Power Pizza is delish. Another thing about Hamilton, we have great pizza. I will say it. We're a pizza town. I believe it was Shorty's Pizza won best cheese slice in the world at the Vegas Pizza Awards or something. Anyways, pretty cool stuff. Yeah. Oh, now, for all you coffee drinkers out there, maybe you've heard of Tim Hortons. I'm sure if you're Canadian, you know it. And if you live in, parts of the US, you know it. But this is the first Tim Hortons ever. Yes, that's right. Tim Hortons was founded in Hamilton by Tim Horton himself. This is the first ever restaurant, first ever coffee shop. That's what it used to look like here. And this is what it looked like before. They've since, rebuilt it. They got a nice little museum inside. You can kind of go in. But yeah, that's store number 1, Tim Hortons. That's a little bit of Hamilton history that not everyone knows. It's kind of just, nestled into this cute little neighborhood. All right. And as you can see, these roads could be repaired a little bit. That's another thing about Hamilton. We got some of the worst roads in Canada. Okay. Next neighborhood I want to talk a little bit about is Vincent. All right. Now, this is definitely, my opinion, an underrated neighborhood. You don't hear a lot of people talking about this area or even going through this area. It's kind of off the beaten path a little bit like Rosedale. As you can see through our outline here, this is Vincent. And just on the other side of the Red Hill Valley Parkway, you got Rosedale. So Vincent does, it benefits from the being kind of under the escarpment, but kind of not. And it's tucked away, got a nice, beautiful greenery all around. And the homes are lovely. Big yards, big lots, solid 70s, 80s homes, bungalows, 2 stories, stuff like that. And generally they're in great shape. Lots of schools in this area. So I think it's definitely a contender to be one of probably the best underrated neighborhood in Hamilton. Ease of access, like I was talking about in Rosedale, same goes with Vincent, maybe even more so. You got the Red Hill Valley Parkway right here, which connects Upper and Lower Hamilton to the highways, Queen Elizabeth Way, the QEW, which takes you to Toronto, to the America, or the Lincoln Alexander Parkway, which takes you right through the mountain, cuts right through the mountain of Hamilton, takes you to the 403, where you can go to Brantford and London and beyond. So in that regard, it's really, really great. Let's just take a quick look at a couple homes here. What makes Vincent one of my favorite underrated neighborhoods is the value. Homes here, for whatever reason, I don't know, seem to trade under, comparable neighborhoods in the area. Seems you get a lot better value for your dollar. The area, some people, it's not their favorite. I think it's great. So this one obviously needs some updating. But the bones look good, right? Obviously, like the People's Realtor tells you, you got to get in there to take a look for yourself, but you could make this into a beautiful little home, and the lots generally tend to be pretty great. And look at that view of the escarpment you got right there. I love it. See, standard kind of 70s lots where they used to give you a little space to grow up. Whereas nowadays you see a development, you get, this much of a backyard. But back in the day, they used to make them a little bit bigger. So that's nice. I like that. You can go in here and really make it your own. $686 sold price, not too bad. This one sold for $700,000. We got a nice back split here. And like I was saying, you got these nice, beautiful streets, these mature streets. Here's another one that could use a little TLC. So how are you supposed to open these cabinets? There's no handles. So it definitely looks like there's a lot of DIY work done in this home, which screams to me, you want to stay away, or at the very least, you get in there and you take a look at what they've done. All right. Next house. These are all houses that have sold within the past 2 months, 3 months, I believe. No longer than 3 months. Here's a nice home. See, I love this. I absolutely love it. It looks pretty good. A lot of millennial gray going on. But yeah, it looks like it's a decent home. What do we got? 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and it looks pretty good. Looks like they got some upgrades. It was on the market for 43 days, so $720,000. Not too bad if you ask me. And here we go. Now we got these 2 stories. You're going to see a lot of these style homes. These were very popular in the 70s, early 80s kind of timeline. So a lot of these homes, if they are built in the 70s, here's another thing you should look out for if you are in your home search. If a home's built in the 70s, you want to make sure that there's no aluminum wiring in there. And you could easily go in, look at the panel and tell, the People's Realtor will always check that. And of course, if you do put an offer on a house, you want to get an inspection, especially an older home. This one looks pretty decent. Yeah, just your standard nice home. Maybe you want to get rid of those carpets, do some updating. Beautiful backyard, it looks like. But yeah, to me, it's got a nice pool. To me, this is kind of the quintessential house. You're in a court, you got nice views of the escarpment, a lot of trees, nice size home. And I think this neighborhood has a lot to offer in regards to these homes and just the lifestyle. Great place to raise your kids. It's quiet, all that good stuff. Let's take a look at one more. 800,000 sold, listed for 820 on the market, 24 days. Here's another one. Like I said, these are very common in these parts of Hamilton. Just around, just based on when it was developed, a lot of it depends on the era your home was built in Hamilton. It may or may not have, a certain kind of design to it, but I love these styles of homes. I think they make for perfect family homes. So something to keep in mind. Now let's just take a quick look on the street here. What does a typical street in Vincent look like? So yeah, like I was saying, here's some semi-detached homes, which, you can definitely... The homes we were looking at were detached, so if you're looking at semi-detached, it's going to be a bit cheaper than that for sure, right? So these are all semis. But as you can see, these very tree-lined streets, very mature. In the summertime, that's going to look beautiful. And yeah, as you can see, a lot of kind of the same style homes here. These are a lot of one-story homes, bungalows, back splits, stuff like that. So I think it's a great neighborhood, especially if you got a young family, you're looking for some value, looking for a quiet, nice neighborhood. I think Vincent will be right for you. And if you like that, or if you don't like that, you want to be in a more of a central part of the city, you want a more of a city vibe, like we were talking, maybe Stinson's more for you, but you just got to tell the People's Realtor a couple things of what you want in a place. And I'm going to set you up. I'm going to put you exactly where you want to be. You got to reach out. Emails down below, number, text, call, whatever. Book a Zoom meeting with me through Calendly. Links down below. All right, for our last neighborhood that I want to talk about today, we're going to be chatting about Winona. That's right. Maybe you never heard of it. It's definitely out of the way a little bit on the edge of Stoney Creek, but it is a part of Hamilton. And I wanted to talk about it a bit today, not because, you're going to get the best value out of there, but they have been developing it a lot. And if you can get some good value there, I think, in the future, this whole area is just kind of going to keep being built up and developed. Some parts of it are greenbelt. So if you can get in a good, nice house here, so Winona is this square, but also it's all over here to above the QEW right on the lake. And, you're not going to find, the craziest value here. You're going to need a bit more of a budget. And that's because Winona has been built up, especially very recently, a lot. Okay. A lot of new developments, a lot of new families moving in and stuff like that. But if we want to take a look, a lot of these homes are, newer, bigger, big lots, newer developments. So if you do want a house relatively new or built within the last 10 years, you can find some really nice places in Winona, and they just keep building. And I think they're just going to keep building, as Hamilton gets bigger. I think Stoney Creek is just going to keep etching out east. And we can already see that along the QEW. There's tons of condos being built up. I've covered it in another video in Grimsby. They've been building like crazy along the QEW. And a big reason of that is because a lot of people do their commuting to Toronto or Mississauga or stuff like that. If they are doing that, if they're living that life, they need to be close to the highway. They need that ease of access. And Winona, you're right on the highway here. You can get right on the highway, go east, west, America, Toronto, beyond, wherever you want to go. So keeping that in mind, let's take a look at a couple of these Winona houses. Now, here's a house that went for $1 million. And yeah, the lot sizes, not so big. I think I said they were big, but a little bit smaller. Like I was saying, in these newer developments, they don't give you a ton of lot space because they just want to maximize their profits. But they do build you a nice, beautiful, big home. And so if, you want a nice big home in a nice suburb, Winona is a great choice. Whereas, these homes, if you're looking in Stoney Creek, they might be a little bit more expensive, a little bit out of your price range, right? So another one, again, these are nice, kind of newer-ish homes, big. This one seems really nice. Nice modern finishes. I like that backsplash a lot. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, that's pretty. Looks like they got some nice finishes, but yes, this is typical of what you're going to find in Winona in the newer developments area. There are some areas where the homes are a lot more dated, is going to cost you a pretty penny. This one sold for $2.5 million. You get a nice piece of property here. Ooh, car lovers, there you go. Well, yeah. $2.5 million. You're definitely paying for that, that view right there for sure. But it's nice. I like it. But yeah, a lot of these two-story homes, newer style, you're going to find in Winona. And Winona is great. I think there are a couple drawbacks. One of the things is, and this, let the people's realtor go off on a little rant here. These days, when, they develop a town, they don't seem to put a lot of thought into how functional it is. It seems like back in the day, they built a town, they'd have there would be a main street, residential areas off of that, places to walk around, parks, stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, Winona has Winona Park, which is a beautiful park, which is the home of the Winona Peach Festival. Every third weekend in August, every year, it's a great time. But I digress. A lot of times they build, they find a field, the developers, they build 1,000 houses, and then they'll go down the street and they'll build a mega plaza. And then it just means you got to get in your car every time you want to go somewhere. And then when you get to the mega plaza, you go to one store. If you want to go to another store, you got to get in your car, drive across this massive parking lot where people just ignore all traffic rules and regulations seemingly. And so that's not my forte, but if that's something you don't mind, you like the convenience of having everything in one major plaza, it's great for that. I think It's a beautiful place. Winona's got the marina up here, which is really nice. So, not saying it's all like this, but you know, it is kind of the typical newer Canadian town, big development and then a big mega plaza, which certainly, you know, grinds my gears a little bit. But they're still, you know, very nice neighborhoods. These is a nice little townhouse neighborhood. Let's take a look a little bit at the marina. If you do got a boat, Winona is great because you got 50 Point Marina. Please take note that the marina is about a 2-year wait list. And so you might have to park it in St. Catharines or you might have to park it in Hamilton Harbor. Anyways, I digress. Winona's great. You got great ease of access to the highway, quiet town, still getting developed a lot. So something to keep in mind. And that's, I think, it. That is my list for the top 5 most underrated neighborhoods in Hamilton. I think it's a pretty dang good list. If you agree or if you don't agree, leave a comment below and let's chat, all right? My name is Joy D'Ambrosio. I am the People's Realtor, and it is my goal to serve the fine people of the GTHA and beyond. So if you're thinking about making a move to the area or, you know, outer area, surrounding area, it doesn't matter. You just give me a ring-a-ding-ding. You tell me 1, 2, 3 things about where you want to live, your kind of lifestyle you like. You want to be, you know, close to parks, nature, downtown, suburb. The People's Realtors got you. I'm here to serve. So just give me a call, text, email, all my info's down below. Make sure you follow along and subscribe. And we're going to keep on digging away at Hamilton and all his treasures. All right. This is the People's Realtor signing off. Thank you for watching. Have a great week.